All right, let's talk about the San Francisco 49ers. They have that second overall pick. Not a lot of people thought they'd be picking this high just because of how Jimmy Garoppolo played last year at the end of the season. They never lost a game. They ended up uh, picking the 10th spot. Everyone thought, hey, maybe they don't make the playoffs this year, but they're definitely going to be pushing towards it. They didn't. Garoppolo got hurt early on. They struggled even a little bit with him. And they just injuries really ravaged this team. So they're picking here number two, and they've got an intriguing spot for them, mainly because the type of prospects, the type of needs that they have, don't really fit with what they want. They need that edge pass rusher, but if Nick Bosa goes number one, is there a guy worthy of the second overall pick? You think, free safety. you know. So let's kind of get a look at some of these prospects and kind of see who they could take, who are some options, and then what I would do. Now, as I mentioned, Nick Bosa has to be their top target, and you may say, Brian, they've drafted defensive linemen almost year after year. Solomon Thomas, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead. They're loaded. Well, Solomon Thomas hasn't really panned out. DeForest Buckner's played well. Eric Armstead's played all right. But is that going to prevent you from taking, they lack that edge pass rusher. They don't have a bendy guy off the edge that can attack the quarterback. They have a lot more of your power pass rushers that are going to attack the defensive lineman and win from there. So Nick Bosa definitely fits. He'd be that Leo in their 4-3 under scheme, that kind of weak side defensive end. They're keeping Robert Saleh as their defensive coordinator, so they need that guy. They don't have him. I don't know if they thought Solomon Thomas was going to be that guy. I never thought he was that. He's more of a 5 technique guy. But Nick Bosa would fit that. The only way that they're going to get Nick Bosa, I think, is if Arizona trades with someone to move out. I don't know if that's going to happen this year. So who else is out there? Josh Allen from Kentucky is a popular name. Josh Allen was the SEC, and this isn't the Wyoming quarterback and Buffalo Bills quarterback. Josh Allen was the SEC Defensive Player of the Year for Kentucky. 14 sacks on the season. There was games where he just dominated. Now, I like Josh Allen. He was a force this year. But some concerns I have is he's not the most flexible, bendy athlete. If I'm looking to draft someone number 2 overall, I want them to be a complete package. And it's not to say that Josh Allen is stiff, but he doesn't bend the edge as much as I'd like him to see. He tends to be a little bit more upright, doesn't bend the hips that much, sink those hips to get around the edge. But he does have the ankle flexibility that he does show that he can turn the corner. Okay? He's gained weight and still kept his explosiveness. He's improved his pass rushing repertoire. But that's the thing. That little thing is what's keeping me from having him, ready to go number 2 overall. But who knows? Maybe he does seem to fit perfectly into that Leo spot. You line him up wide, 7-9 technique, and just have him attack at a straight line. And he's able to make those reactions in space. So I think he's a realistic candidate, but something to kind of consider. I mentioned Jonah Williams because is their offensive line as good as they want it to be? I know they took Mike McGlinchey with the 10th pick last year. He's their right tackle. They got Joe Staley at the left tackle, but is Staley's not a spring chicken anymore. Here's a guy whose career is, on its downside. He's still a good player, don't get me wrong, but he's not the type of player that is going to get better over the next couple of years. So do you take a Jonah Williams, put him in at guard? Their guards aren't setting the world on fire. Okay. Laken Tomlinson got injured last week. Mike Persons. I know they got Weston Richburg at center, so they're set at center. But improve this offensive line. Okay? But, and maybe you take Jonah Williams, he's your left guard. He's got experience playing different positions other than left tackle. Some think, and I think if he moves into guard, he could be an all-pro. Maybe you put him in at left guard, and eventually he becomes your left tackle. And after Joe Staley retires or is let go, now you got Jonah Williams and Mike McGlinchey as your two tackles. Something to think about. Cornerback, I've got a San Francisco 49ers friend that's a big, he's really going after Greedy Williams, the LSU cornerback who's already declared. Williams is your prototypical press man corner. He's 6'2". He's light. He's a little bit thinner, kind of around that 190-pound range. He's got the foot quickness. He's got the change of direction ability to stick with receivers. He's got the speed to run with you deep. His ball skills, in my opinion, from what I've watched, and I still need to watch more, are a bit inconsistent. But he really fits with what the 49ers need and want out of their corners. They're running that Seattle-style cover 3. They've got Richard Sherman there. So do they, pull the trigger on Williams? He fits exactly with what they want. But once again, is the second overall pick too high for this? I like I said, I like Greedy Williams. He's a talented player, but he's my 15th overall prospect in this class. And I'm probably lower on him than most, but I don't think he's a top 5 prospect. Are you going to take a guy outside of your top 5, and maybe he's higher on there because he fits with more what they want to do. But is he the second best prospect on their board? I don't think so. Do they go with Quinnen Williams? Do they just say, you know what, we're taking the best prospect that we can take with the second pick? And they take Quinnen Williams. And they take another defensive tackle, and you pit him up at that nose tackle spot in their defense. You pair him up next to DeForest Buckner, and you just get stout up the middle. And you just get this massive defensive line that no one can run on, that can attack from the inside. But do you say, he's too much of what we have? Would that pick be better used? The last player that I want to talk about is LSU linebacker Devin White. And I never really thought much. I like Devin White, don't get me wrong. He's my 5th rated prospect in this class, an athletic, explosive linebacker, can go sideline to sideline with his speed. He's got the power to come up and take on blockers and fill the lane, fill the hole. But I never really thought he'd be drafted in the top 10. I kind of thought he'd be kind of in that 11 to 15 range, just because he's not a Luke Kuechly type. He's ultra talented, but he's not Luke Kuechly type of prospect. But a guy that I really respect, John Middlecoff, former NFL scout, former NFL personnel guy, tremendous podcast, 3 and Out podcast. He brought up on Twitter Devin White's name. And I never really thought of it, but like I said, I really respect John. He lives in the Bay Area. He follows the 49ers. He covers the 49ers and the Raiders. And you think about it, and, Devin White seems like a guy that John Lynch would really like. They drafted Reuben Foster a couple years ago, and the rumor was he would have been their second, their third overall pick. He was like one of their second or third rated prospects. But and he's gone. He's not on the team anymore. So would they take Devin White? They're not afraid to take linebackers early. Fred Warner has had a lot of success. He's kind of filled in at that middle linebacker spot, the weak side linebacker spot. Do you take Devin White and pair him up with Fred Warner, and now you've got your 2 athletic linebackers that can run all over the field? I mean, we're seeing what the Dallas Cowboys and how their defense has evolved this year because they have 2 dynamic, athletic linebackers. Once again, it raises the question: is this too early? Is the number 2 overall pick too early for an athletic, off-the-ball linebacker who's not going to rush the passer? I think it is. So who do the 49ers take? Okay. I think, in my opinion, this comes down to two guys. I think it comes down to Josh Allen and it comes down to Quinnen Williams. Just because Josh Allen's probably the perfect fit for what they want to do, but Quinnen Williams is the better prospect. As crazy as it seems, I would probably take Quinnen Williams. If I'm picking in the top three, I'm taking the best player that's available to me. And that's Quinnen Williams. But if I had to guess what I think the 49ers do, I think they take Josh Allen and they get that edge rusher that they desperately lack. I think when it's all said and done, Josh Allen's probably going to be a top 10 prospect. And they get that missing piece with decent value. I don't think he's the second best player in this draft, but I think they get a good value. It's a decent value. And who knows? Maybe a team trades up with them. Maybe the Arizona's teams aren't willing to trade up to Arizona, but the 49ers are willing to move down a little bit more, and a team moves up to get Dwayne Haskins there. And so they're able to slide down a little bit, and maybe Josh Allen's there at the 7th pick or the 9th pick, and they get him there. So who knows? Or, maybe they take Devin White there at the 9th pick.